This weekend, we finally got to see the first trailer for Secret Invasion, the original Disney Plus series. With the growing excitement of the MCU multiverse saga leaving a lot of people asking how are things going to move forward, I'm sitting here kind of asking myself about imposters. Secret Invasion is coming to Disney Plus in spring of 2023, and Kevin Feige has boasted it as one of the most ambitious projects since the first Avengers movie. Now, granted, Kevin Feige says that about almost every MCU project, so.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
For those of you unfamiliar with the Secret Invasion storyline in the comics, let me give you a quick summary of what goes down. The story itself takes place shortly after the events of the Marvel Civil War, leaving our heroes divided and vulnerable to, well, invasion of the secret variety. Even an invasion of the not-so-secret variety. Everyone's divided. The Skrulls in the Secret Invasion are led by an empress known as Veranka. I assume it's supposed to sound like the Skrull version of Veronica, but, you know, we haven't seen Veranka yet in the MCU, so I don't really know how to pronounce it 100%. So I'm going with Veranka. In this story, Veranka disguises herself as Spider-Woman and orchestrates essentially everything that happens during that storyline. There are a lot of rumors out there that Emilia Clarke is going to be playing this role of Veranka. However, as we have seen in a lot of MCU adaptations of the comic books, there are likely going to be quite a few changes, and I don't personally believe that Emilia Clarke is going to be Veranka. I have a feeling that Emilia Clarke is actually going to be playing Gaia, the Skrull that impersonates a human known as Gloria Warner. I have a feeling that Ben Kingsley Adir's character is going to be Claire, otherwise known as Carl Warner. Now, the reason I'm making a note of this in a video that's mostly about who I think Skrulls are impersonating right now is just so you know that I believe that the main storyline of Secret Invasion is going to be Skrulls trying to figure out how to mimic enhanced individuals in the MCU. In the comics, Gloria Warner and Carl Warner are the creators and parents, essentially, of the first generation of War Skrulls, which are the first Skrulls with the ability to mimic enhanced individuals' powers. In the trailer, we do see a room that looks like a morgue with a bunch of Skrull bodies in it. I would be willing to bet that we are witnessing what Gaia and Claire are trying to do in making these enhanced Skrulls. Now, to get back into the story of the Secret Invasion, it all begins with the death of Elektra, or so we think. Elektra isn't Elektra. The leader of the Hand is not actually Elektra. It is, in fact, a Skrull. Once Elektra dies, the body reverts back into its Skrull form, and it's revealed that, well, anyone could be a Skrull. So, in the MCU, who are the Skrulls? Now, I do want to make a point of mentioning there are some factors that went into my decision of whether or not someone could be a Skrull, and here they are. I don't believe that a Skrull would be any of our superpowered individuals, at least for a long amount of time. Now, I'm talking about people with actual superpowers. We're talking Captain Marvel, Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, all of these individuals that actually have superpowers. Probably not a Skrull at this point. Probably want to make them Skrulls, but at this point in the MCU, we have not seen Skrulls with enhanced abilities. In Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers makes a big point of making sure that Nick Fury understands that because she shoots her little Tesseracty rays at a jukebox, that she cannot be a Skrull. So at this point in time, it should be fairly believable that if there are any superpowered Skrulls, it would be brand new to the universe. Another factor that I'm bringing into deciding whether or not I believe someone is a Skrull is I do think there should be at least one or two Skrulls that have been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a long time. This is going to add a lot of shock factor and really leave the audience questioning, oh my god, who could be a Skrull? Another thing that the Skrulls are trying to do in the comic book is place themselves in positions of power so that when the invasion comes, it is going to be a lot easier for them to convince the world to submit. This last factor that I put into deciding whether or not I thought someone was a Skrull is that I don't believe that anyone with a large amount of character growth will end up being a Skrull. Now, I could be mistaken. It would not surprise me in the least. But I think that would be an incredibly jarring thing to see a character that has experienced a lot of growth throughout the universe to end up being a Skrull. I think my biggest example here would be James Rhodey. We've seen him go from by the book military asset to, you know what, maybe the Sokovia Accords were bad and I lost my legs because of it. So these are all things that definitely go into my thought process on whether or not someone is a Skrull in this universe. Now, you've made it this far. I appreciate it. I know really all you want is to hear my list of people that I believe are Skrulls. So let's get down to it. Number 1. So I want to get out there that this character could be taken in a couple of different ways as far as when they become a Skrull. And I know that people are going to be like, whoa, you think this guy's a Skrull? I think of my list, this one might be the least likely. However, I could also see it happening. And that is our friend Hank Pym. Now, before you tell me, oh, Ben, you said no superpowered individuals. You're right. In fact, I did, viewer. However, Hank Pym, not a superpowered individual. He creates superpowered tech that makes a suit that makes him tiny, but he is not himself superpowered. What he does is develop the Pym particle, which allows him to become small while retaining the mass of a human. Now, in Avengers Endgame, we see that the Pym particle is created at the very latest in the 70s. Now, I don't know about you, but in everything that we've seen of that time period, that's pretty advanced tech for the 70s. Not even something Howard Stark had been able to develop. And any technology anywhere near that, similar to the super soldier serum, takes a lot of power and a lot of equipment to do anything. So the Pym particle definitely seems way ahead of its time. So why not alien tech? Could that be that Hank Pym was replaced in the 70s? As far as I know, it's a possibility. Like, why not? In addition to the super soldier serum needing a lot of equipment to make actually work, we also have the Hydra tech in the same time period. A lot of it was powered by alien technology, such as the Tesseract. Does this mean that he is for sure a Skrull? No. He could definitely be incredibly smart. Does that mean he was a Skrull when he developed the Pym particle? Maybe not, but I do believe that that would be the more likely of the situations in his case. But I could also see a Skrull replacing him shortly after the creation of the Pym particle. That being said, there are a few things that I think make him possibly not a Skrull. Why does he rely on Scott Lang? Why doesn't he let Hope take the suit herself? There are a lot of questions along the lines. I do believe that Hank Pym is the least likely. However, he does end up being a Skrull in the comic books, so I thought it might be a nice throwback to that. I also don't think if he is a Skrull that he's going to have a large role in Secret Invasion. I think he might serve as the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Elektra, in that he dies at the end of Quantumania. We see a post-credit scene of his body reverting to a Skrull form, leaving everyone questioning, oh my god, what the fuck?
Language.
So, I will say, this prediction, pretty out there, but not outside of the realm of possibility, in my personal opinion. That was probably my least likely character to be a Skrull. This next one, I would honestly be surprised if he didn't end up being a Skrull. We saw him very early on in the MCU, literally the second movie released for the MCU, in The Incredible Hulk. That's right, I'm talking about General Thunderbolt Ross. He has been in the MCU for a long time trying to recreate the super soldier serum that created Captain America. So I do believe that it is incredibly possible that a Skrull would want the super soldier serum for themselves in order to more easily take over planet Earth. Not only has he been present in the MCU for a long time, he has been front and center to one of the most divisive events in the MCU, and that is the Civil War. The Civil War is part of what makes the world vulnerable to an invasion. So why not have someone in a position of power that can make it a lot easier for Skrulls to invade? Now, let's talk about that position of power. Sure, in Incredible Hulk, we only saw him as a general in the military, but by the time Civil War rolls around and in the events of Infinity War, he is the Secretary of State to the US President, possibly one of the most powerful roles in the President's cabinet. So you tell me, would it really be out of the realm of possibility that General Thunderbolt Ross is a Skrull? Absolutely not. I wouldn't be surprised if we found out that Ross died shortly after the events of, I don't know, Incredible Hulk. Or maybe he was kidnapped after that. Who knows when he could have been replaced? I could also see him actually being the Elektra for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the one who passes away in universe and actually ends up being a Skrull. Why else could we possibly be seeing Rhodey and Nick Fury meeting? We already know that Rhodey had a close relationship with a former president in the MCU. Why not the current one? And why not, after the death of Thaddeus Ross, would we not say, oh my god, we had someone this close to the president? Is the president a Skrull? Hey guys, editing Benpai here, and I just want to say that I had all of this conversation about how Hank Pym could be a Skrull, and how, yes, he could be a Skrull, but on my list, he's like the least likely, and I was thinking, why do I have him on my list? And not someone else? And then, of course, I'm going through and I'm re-listening to my talking about Thaddeus Ross and all of that. That I feel it is a disservice and absolutely silly of me to not bring up Sharon Carter. As much of an instigator as Secretary Ross was to the Marvel Civil War, he did not have as much of a direct influence on it as Sharon Carter did. Now, what I mean by that is going back to Sam, Bucky, and Steve being captured in Captain America Civil War, who do we have to thank for their timely escape, further widening the gap between each side of heroes? Sharon Carter. And after the events of the blip, Sharon Carter has amassed a great deal of influence, becoming the power broker. And the power broker is doing what exactly? Trying to recreate the super soldier serum. Who else did that? General Ross. So I could definitely see General Ross and Sharon Carter being on the same side, just trying to widen the gap between the two sides of heroes. Like I said, I really wanted to make sure that I brought it up because I do believe that it is a valid theory. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk on Sharon Carter, and I'll continue my list now. This next one has significantly less screen time than any other person on my list. However, it is enough to make me wonder, yeah, she could be a Skrull. And that is the leader of the Department of Damage Control, Anne-Marie Hogue? Sure, we haven't seen her much outside of Spider-Man Homecoming, but she is the leader of the Department of Damage Control, appointed by Tony Stark. I think this could be very shocking to someone like Pepper Potts that, oh my god, someone that Tony trusted was in fact a Skrull. That is something that could also end up sparking a lot of fear within the MCU. In addition to that, I do believe that one of the main storylines of Secret Invasion is going to be Gaia and Klur trying to figure out how to make superpowered Skrulls. Now, who has access to a lot of superpowered individuals, a lot of alien technology, and otherwise disastrous technology other than the Department of Damage Control. In Spider-Man Homecoming, we literally saw an Indiana Jones-style warehouse full of alien tech. Now, you may be asking me, why the Director of Damage Control? Why not this guy? Agent Cleary. Sure, we have seen Agent Cleary a lot throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least lately, and he has proven to be, well, kind of a jerk. However, I could definitely see Marvel using that as, hey, some humans are in fact jerks. Jerks don't have to be aliens. As a matter of fact, why not have Skrulls be taking over Department of Damage Control, and why not have some human sympathizers that are working with them? Or, I don't feel like everybody in movies needs a redemption arc, but hey, this could definitely be the point that sparks Agent Cleary to be like, oh, I done messed up. I don't really have much more to say on the Department of Damage Control. I just think it would be incredibly surprising if Skrulls did not have a lot of access to the Department of Damage Control. Period. So let's move on. These last two on my list, these are the people that truly would shock me if they didn't end up being Skrulls. There's just too much that kind of happens with both these characters that leave me wondering, why would any human being do this? So, let's start with my number 4. Tyler Hayward. Now, the director of S.W.O.R.D. hits all of my check marks of, yes, this is the guy heralding in a secret alien invasion. Let's go over that list. 1. He gets himself into a position of power. Shortly after the death of Maria Rambeau, he becomes the director of one of the most powerful organizations in the Marvel Universe, S.W.O.R.D. Now, was this due to a technicality because Monica got dusted a couple years prior? Who knows? But thanks to that scene between Monica and Hayward, I believe that he would have ended up being the director of S.W.O.R.D., regardless of if Monica was alive at the time. Number 2. Shortly after the events of Infinity War and the death of Maria Rambeau, Hayward admits to dissolving this portion of S.W.O.R.D. that deals in space exploration and defense. Now, we just witnessed an alien invasion to planet Earth that almost wiped Wakanda off the map. Can you tell me why any person in their right mind would say, oh, half the people in the universe are gone, why do we need space defense? Come on. This guy is definitely preparing to have a weakened Earth when the Skrulls arrive. Number 3. Turns enemy tech against your enemy. In WandaVision, we do see that Tyler Hayward is trying to recreate the Vision, arguably one of the most powerful Avengers to date. But this time, he tries to create a Vision that doesn't think for himself. And number 4, let's remove a high-level threat from the playing field. One of the biggest things that Hayward is trying to do, outside of trying to get Vision, is to kill Wanda. Now, we have seen that Wanda is more or less off the playing field now. However, this is a person with unfathomable power. He mentions it himself in WandaVision. He uses that reason to justify more or less just trying to assassinate Wanda in Westview. So you tell me, is there anything in WandaVision or in our experience with Tyler Hayward that would lead you to believe that he is not a Skrull? Because I can't find any redeeming qualities for him that wouldn't just scream, I want to help the aliens! The final likely Skrull on my list is one that is a fairly new introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, having just been seen for the very first time in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We are first introduced to John at the same time that we're introduced to the Golden Daggers Club, which is really just a fight club for enhanced individuals. In the lower level fights, we see everything from extremis-powered humans to sorcerers. Of course, that's not the biggest thing that we see here, as it does pan over to this wonderful fight between our Sorcerer Supreme, Wong, and Emil Blonsky, the Abomination. We've already talked about how the Skrulls would want different kinds of enhanced human beings. Here we've got the extremis-powered humans who, with their alien technology, they may be able to reverse engineer the effects that Extremis has on humans and transfer that over to the Skrulls themselves. Same with the sorcerers. What makes a human compatible with the mystic arts may just be down to DNA, something in their genetic code. So, in theory, all a Skrull might have to do to take over the sorcerers would be to have a sling ring. Obviously, this is all speculation, but it seems very plausible for the story. Plus, I do believe that characters like John are going to be really good Skrull candidates, just for the fact that they're fun, lovable characters that can be turned around and made into something not fun, as a matter of fact, just absolutely horrifying. It also brings the question out of, with all of the people that have been seen in the Golden Daggers Club fighting, who else could possibly be a Skrull if John does in fact turn out to be a Skrull? I could definitely see Wong being a Skrull, having had to go investigate where all of his sorcerers are going. And who knows, maybe the sorcerers do have some sort of way to detect whether or not someone is actually human. It would be the first and only way that we have seen so far that a Skrull can be detected in a human form. So I know the show itself is definitely a sitcom, so Wong being a little out of character from what we've seen him in the past might not really be anything to worry about. However, it does seem like he is coming into a lot of things with She-Hulk. So maybe his behavior in She-Hulk doesn't purely show that he is a Skrull, but it does bring up that if John is a Skrull and he somehow manages to get Wong to come to his fight club, how far away from the realm of possibility would it be that he then gets Wong to be replaced by a Skrull of his own? And even if the Department of Damage Control has been infiltrated by Skrulls, it would probably still be difficult for them to get someone like Emil Blonsky out of the Department of Damage Control to replace him. That is, of course, unless you are a master of the mystic arts, the Sorcerer Supreme. I think it is a very real possibility that Emil Blonsky has been replaced as a Skrull as well. We do see in She-Hulk that he transforms from Emil to the Abomination, still has his speech, still is able to do everything that he does, except, can he? Shapeshifting is what Skrulls do, so it wouldn't be far-fetched to believe that a Skrull could transform from Emil Blonsky into the Abomination. The thing that might be different is the inherent strength. They might still only have the strength of a Skrull themselves. But in the comics and, everything we've seen so far, the Skrulls don't necessarily need to be someone that is the exact same size as them. So why not? Plus, if the Skrulls have managed to imprison the Abomination, they might be attempting to use his blood to recreate the Hulk formula to make super-powered Skrulls. However, upon finding out that the Abomination is actually just a mess-up of the super soldier serum and some of the Hulk's blood, or rather Bruce Banner's blood, well, all of a sudden it doesn't work as well. All things that I could definitely see being true in a Secret Invasion show. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can see more of this kind of content that will be much more regular on this channel. We're looking at doing videos like this about twice a month. There's a lot of research and writing that goes into doing these videos, so I hope that you really did enjoy this. Keep an eye on my socials for when Comic Book Club is going to be returning, and I guess that's really it. So until the next time I see you, Shalom-Aste.